Hey everybody, Jonas Callis of the Hurt at Work Workers' Compensation Law Firm. Many of you know me as the Workers' Comp Guy. First, the obligatory disclaimer. The following information is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice, nor does it create an attorney-client privilege with anyone. So in this video, I'll be continuing my discussion of benefits which are available to injured workers who have claims within the Virginia Workers' Compensation Commission. Today, I'll be discussing another very important wage loss replacement benefit of a Virginia Workers' Compensation claim, which that benefit is called temporary partial disability, or as it's often referred to, TPD. In the Virginia Workers' Compensation Commission, all employees except undocumented workers who are not eligible for legal employment within the United States and who are injured in a workplace accident or have developed an occupational disease are eligible to receive temporary partial disability benefits while they are working in some sort of light duty job because of the work restrictions placed upon them attributable to their compensable work accident or disease. And also, while in that light duty position, they're earning less money than they were earning prior to the workplace accident or prior to being advised that they had a condition or disease or illness that was related to their work. Okay? So if you think about it, temporary partial disability benefits is meant to attempt to make up that difference. Like they were earning this before the accident. After the accident, they weren't earning anything for a while. They were eventually released to return to work. They started in a light duty job earning this much, right? So there's still this difference here that they're missing out on attributable to the workplace accident because they aren't able to return to their pre-accident work yet, okay? So essentially we're talking about that difference there. We're trying to get them back up and trying to make, essentially the code tries to make their post-accident earnings in that light duty position plus the temporary partial disability benefits try to be comparable to what they were earning before the accident. It's essentially what we're talking about here, okay? So, and typically, why would injured workers be earning less in their light duty work after their accident? Could be usually it's a couple things. Either they're earning less, it's a different job, so maybe the per hour rate isn't as much, or it's a light duty job that was some employers are able to make kind of fashion jobs that do serve a purpose, but maybe the injured worker was working full time before the accident, but all of a sudden after the accident they're working 20 hours a week, right? Well, obviously, even if you're paid the same rate, that's half the time, that's half the hour, so you're going to be coming up short. You're not going to be earning what you were earning before the accident. So this entitlement to TPD benefits is found in the Virginia Code pursuant to section 65.2-502. Quote, when the injured worker's capacity for work resulting from the injury is partial, the employer shall pay or cause to be paid, ellipses, to the injured employee during such incapacity, a weekly compensation equal to 66 2/3% of the difference between his average weekly wages before the injury and the average weekly wages which he is able to earn thereafter. So that's that difference we were talking about earlier, right? 2/3 of that difference is what we're talking about today, temporary partial disability benefits. So when can an injured worker get temporary partial disability benefits? An injured worker is entitled to temporary partial disability benefits when her or his treating provider, healthcare provider, or multiple providers, if he or she has been to some specialists along the way, have released him or her to return to work with some sort of restrictions. The restrictions aren't relaxed enough to allow that injured worker to return to the pre-accident work, okay? But the injured worker was able to find some sort of light duty job within those restrictions and is working that job and earning some amount of money. But, and we've talked about this really, but the earnings from the light duty work just don't equal the earnings that he or she was earning prior to the accident or development of the occupational disease. Sometimes where an injured worker returns to work and is working a light duty job, there can be an ongoing obligation to market, or remember, if you've seen my website, my other videos, market or conduct some sort of job search, right? There can be an ongoing obligation to do that. For example, say the injured worker was working, anywhere from 40 to 50 hours per week prior to the accident. So they're used to working a lot, right? And then after the accident and after they were released to return to some sort of work with restrictions, they found a light duty job, but the light duty job is like 5 to 8 hours a week. Like, that's a lot of difference in the time, right? In a situation like that, there may be an obligation for the injured worker to continue to search for jobs, even though they're working already, right? To try to make up, maybe find another job that can put them closer to the 40 to 50 hours that they were working before the accident, okay? That said, once an injured worker is officially awarded temporary partial disability benefits pursuant to an award, such as maybe an award order or a judicial opinion, once it's kind of in writing from the commission that this injured worker is entitled to TPD benefits in the weekly amount of X, right, beginning such and such date and continuing through the present, right? Once an injured worker has that, there is no duty to market or do a job search anymore at that point until something else changes, right? Until there's an opinion to the contrary or something else, okay? So that's all there is about that. So for how long, then, can an injured worker collect temporary partial disability benefits? And this is I've talked about this in other videos. Temporary partial disability benefits do not last forever, hence the term temporary. Pursuant to section 65.2-518 of the Code of Virginia, an injured worker can collect temporary total disability benefits, temporary partial disability benefits, and or permanent partial disability benefits, or some combination of those three, okay? Only for up to 500 weeks, right? Don't have they can't collect it beyond the 500 weeks for one accidental injury, okay? And a lot of you already see where I'm going with this, because it doesn't seem fair, right? Because a lot of injuries, work injuries, can result in, even if they're not terribly significant, they can still result in permanent work restrictions and disability, right? But unfortunately, even though those restrictions or disability may be permanent, however minor or major they are, the TPD, TTD, and PPD benefits are only available for up to 500 weeks. So how much, and this is the big question that everybody always asks, how much can an injured worker receive in temporary partial disability benefits? And you probably are not surprised to know that the calculation for TPD benefits is similar to the calculation for TTD benefits, temporary total disability benefits. Typically, temporary partial disability benefits are determined by calculating the injured worker's comp rate, okay, which is done by, well, and actually maybe a better way to think of it is just calculating the injured worker's pre-accident average weekly wage, okay, which is just taking the injured worker's gross earnings each week for the 52 weeks, that's 1 year, the 52 weeks leading up to the accident in question, the work accident, okay? And if you average those gross earnings, that's the pre-accident average weekly wage. So you have a number, okay? The next thing is you look at what the injured worker is now earning, and whatever that light duty job that they found, whatever they're earning in that position, you look at that the same way, okay? How much are they earning each week in that light duty position gross, right? What's that average to be, okay? And then what you do is you take the difference between the two. You take the difference between the pre-accident average weekly wages and the post-accident average weekly wages in their light duty job, right? And whatever that difference is, you take 2/3 of that, and that is the temporary partial disability benefits that they're entitled to. So in fact, if you go back over it, sounds like a lot. If you go back over it, it's actually pretty easy. If I can understand it, you can understand it. So as you may be wondering, if you've looked over my website or if you've seen the other videos, the maximum cap that applies to temporary total disability benefits also applies to temporary partial disability benefits. Pursuant to section 65.2-502 of the Virginia Code, and I won't read it all. Let's start here. Quote, equal to 66 2/3% of the difference between his average weekly wages before the injury and the average weekly wages which he is able to earn thereafter, comma, but not more than 100% of the average weekly wage of the Commonwealth as defined in 65.2-500. Okay, so they can't earn more than whatever that statutory maximum. I believe as of right now, the statutory maximum per week for workers' compensation benefits for the comp rate is $1,102. So the TPD benefits cannot also exceed $1,102 each week. Now here's a ninja tip that I want to include in this discussion about indemnity or wage loss replacement benefits. As TPD benefits are based, obviously as you just heard, based in part on the pre-accident average weekly wage, that calculation is really, really important. Not only for any wage loss benefits, but also for the value of your claim when it comes time to discuss settlement. Okay, so it's imperative that the pre-accident average weekly wage be calculated correctly. And what this means is, not only are whatever your earnings were each week, your paycheck, your gross earnings each week, not only are those included in the pre-accident average weekly wage, but any perks that you may have received from your job, to the extent you can quantify those perks, those really need to be folded. And a lot of people don't have them. I understand that. But some people do. And to the extent that you have certain perks that can be quantified, those need to be added back into your pre-accident average weekly wage, okay? Additionally, to some injured workers, and I like to use this example, like a housekeeper. Some injured workers will work 2 or 3 jobs, okay? If you were working similar employment at the time of your work accident in question, okay? Say you were a housekeeper, not only at this hotel or motel chain, but at this one as well, and you did the same duties, you just went around cleaning rooms, vacuuming, cleaning tubs, making beds, et cetera, changing the sheets and this, that, and the other, right? In most circumstances, you would be able to combine those, right, into your pre-accident average weekly wage, okay? So for that second job, if it's similar, you would want to look for all the wages, the gross wages you got each week, but also the perks for that job as well, and then fold out that all into that one number for pre-accident average weekly wage. That's important because it increases how much money you get. It increases how much money you get, either weekly or when it comes time to settlement, et cetera, et cetera. And as important as wage loss replacement benefits are and temporary partial disability benefits are, it's fairly straightforward, and I think that's all I have to talk about today. I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did find it helpful, chances are other people would find it helpful too. Family, friends, etc. Maybe they're going through the same thing where they had a legitimate workers' compensation injury that for some technicality or whatever has been denied, right? Maybe they're fighting that. Or maybe they know someone that you aren't even aware of, right? They know someone else who's doing it, like a friend of theirs that you don't know. And so tell your friends and family, because the whole point of this website and the YouTube videos is to provide information to people who are hurt at work that don't have any aren't workers' compensation attorneys or whatever, right? They don't really have a basis for any kind of knowledge on this because it's really not terribly complex. At least the fundamentals aren't, okay? That's why I do this. So tell your friends, tell your family. I always feel like it's better if we can get spread this information around to people. It's better to have the information, not need it, than to need the information and just not have it and not know where to go to get it, because it can really harm your claim, some of these things, if you don't know them. And that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay safe and don't get hurt at work.